Welcome back to Masks, and this week we're talking about the humanization of efficiency in the age of the machine, which sounds like a mouthful, and if I'm honest, a bit buzzword like too. So stick with me and I'll explain all. We've built the foundation of the Mask series, and I feel we've found the rhythm, and now it's time for the third part of the intro to Masks, or as I like to call it, my more philosophical moments. How not to be a robot in the age of where actual robots are coming for your user stories, your blog posts, and our creative minds. You know, the A word, dare I say, AI. Look, when you eventually move on to the next big role, what do you want people to say? Most leaders think 50% of their time about features they've shipped, 50% the revenue spikes they can highlight, and 50% about ideas they never got to dive into. Yes, I know that's three halves. Welcome to product management, where metrics don't always add up, but the real metric, the one that tells me I actually did my job well. It's when a former team member pings me maybe 6 months later and says, "Hey, work isn't as satisfying since you left." They often use the word fun, but is work fun? That's a question for another episode. Now, don't get it twisted. Fun isn't some soft, fuzzy concept. You could call it fulfilling, satisfaction, or plain old enjoyment. My point is that in a high performance engine, fun is a rigorous metric. It's the byproduct of a team that feels seen, safe, and fundamentally human. I didn't learn this in some boardroom or some agency. I first learned it on the DJ booths of London and Ibiza before I even touched a Jira ticket in London or here in North America. I went from wearing a mask to survive to being the person who curates the mask for everyone else. Let's go back. Let's talk about the happy mask again, because I spent years perfecting my own broadcasting on a frequency of everything is great, while I was actually drowning on the Northern Line. I developed a bit of a second sight for it. I'm basically a human diagnostic tool at this point. My gut feeling is not a dodgy pie or a hunch. It's the output of thousands of hours of reading faces. I actually tried to work out an estimate on how many faces I've read while DJing. I'd say I've DJed live in clubs and bars close to about 3,000 hours on the decks. You can double that for the time I've spent in the club pre and post set too. And as a really, really rough estimate, I've DJed to approximately 300,000 people. That's getting close to one face per minute that I've been on stage. So, even as a rough estimate, reading faces of those that yearn for escapism is pretty high. Okay, steering away from the decks and back to products. I remember this one product manager, absolute genius, brilliant at the nuts and bolts of product, but about as in tune with people as a brick is in a symphony. One morning, she bounces into the office. She's aggressively cheerful, bubbly, high energy. The rest of the office thinking, oh, she's in a great mood today. But I felt the dissonance instantly. It wasn't her frequency. It was a mask that didn't fit her. She wasn't happy. She was signaling for help. She was actually drowning in work, something 99% of the office missed. Because you see, leadership is realizing that when someone's positivity feels off, it's usually a silent cry for a life draft. Because I caught it, I got to actually help her navigate the ocean of rough waters she was secretly facing and bring her back upon her life raft. Let's shift for a second to another mask, the Teflon mask. I had an intern once who was so calm, it was spooky. Nothing stuck to them. He rolled with every punch with a nonchalance that works in college dorm, but there's a total indifference in the high stakes arena of products. But I didn't try to rip off his Teflon mask. That's how you break people. Instead, we recalibrated it. We took that calm and we turned the dial. We kept the composure, but added a twinkle, a layer of confidence that said, I'm not indifferent. I'm in total control. I wasn't trying to change him into me or change him at all. I was showing him how to use his personality as an asset rather than a blocker to get the team on his side. And here's a secret play. This approach works for managing up too. We tend to treat our bosses like they're untouchable corporate statues. They're not. They're just they're just people who probably have stresses about their kids' schooling or their pets' welfare or any other number of life curveballs that we get thrown at us. I use my tools to disarm them. When you lead with genuine, and I mean genuine curiosity about their lives, you force them to lower their own corporate mask. Once a boss feels seen as a human, you're no longer just a resource to them. You're a partner. You still have to be top tier performance and you have to make their life easier, obviously. But now you're playing the game of work on a much more influential level. Once you've humanized the environment you work in, you get to do the one of the hardest things in leadership you have to do. You let go. Let me explain with an example. After a brutal 3 month sprint to a major conference with features and new products being announced on stage, I was now running on fumes. I needed a reset. I needed a massive break. I'd put it off for weeks to get the wheels moving on new features and ideas post conference. And because I'd spent months giving my team the autonomy, I knew they were solid. I sent a Slack message saying, click the link to read everything you need to do while I'm away. The link went to an almost blank document. It had just one sentence at the bottom of the page. Be as awesome as I know you are. Enjoy the silence. Touch with that joke? Absolutely. But it was a precision engineered tool of trust. By not telling them what to do, by not having a list of make sure these things get done, I had told them I trusted them to do whatever was needed to be done. It proved that the culture was our engine of greatness, not me. Not a list of tasks I'd preset them. I wasn't the linchpin anymore. And that had been my goal for months leading up to this point. That was also my last time writing vacation and holiday notes. I made sure everyone knew the plan. They knew the metrics to move, and they had the permission to do everything and anything to keep us moving forward. Zero micromanaging, 100% autonomy. This matters now more than ever. This matters now more than ever because of AI. The robotic parts of our jobs, the boilerplate, the writing tickets, the drafting copy, the basic coding, that's all being automated. The future belongs to the leaders and the people who can read between the lines. We need teams that talk, that care, and inspire, because that's the only place innovation actually happens. For me, I've learned you can't teach empathy, but you can champion it. I embrace reality moments. These days, it's okay to not have the answer. It's okay to need to think about it and go for a walk to clear your mind and dream up the solution for the challenge. And also, remember that we need the not so good days to recognize and celebrate the good days. A day that's hard is a day to measure the good days too. So, looking back from Ibiza to London to now, the truth for me is simple. You can't fake who you are. You have to be who you are. If I could go back to that exhausted version of myself on the London Underground, I wouldn't tell him to work harder. I wouldn't tell him to stay later. I'd say, your personality is your superpower. Lean into it, embrace it. People want to work with people who are real and who are honest. Being a professional doesn't mean hiding who you are, it means using who you are to make everyone else better. So, here's your first step for tomorrow. Stop looking at your team's output for 5 minutes and start looking at their energy. Genuinely get to know the humans behind the screens. Want to find out about them and what they are passionate about. In a future episode, I'll give you 10 questions to look past the process and into what actually motivates people. In a world of machines, the leader who masters the human frequency is the one who truly will win. You've been listening to Christopher Stanley and my Masks podcast. Until next week, remember, get to truly know your team and what they are passionate about.